take that under advisement. Okay. Good evening, everyone. We're going to call our meeting to order this evening at 6:33 p.m., beginning with the Pledge of Allegiance, the Statue of Liberty. I almost said it. Oh, my God. Is greatly appreciated. Is it on? This month, we are pleased to recognize Mrs. Waltz and Mrs. Chauvin for their commitment and hours and hours of time with our Missoula Children's Theater program. If you have not experienced Missoula Children's Theater here at Duanesburg, please pay attention for next summer and come out and see these kids. It is a program that goes across the country, into Canada, into several other countries as well. They come, two directors, and they cast the kids the first afternoon, and they do rehearsals for the next 4 days, and then they put on a production for everyone. And they're awesome. And bunches of kids from our board and from people out there were on this, in this show. It was really great. So we thank Mrs. Waltz for bringing that back to us. After COVID, it was kind of a feat to do, and for all of their work. And then just very briefly, today happens to be Ms. Kim Ross's birthday, and I like excuses to make cake, and so I have brought enough cupcakes because I was banking on there not being 150 people at this meeting. I'm pretty sure there's enough cupcakes. If everyone would like a cupcake after the meeting, I would very much appreciate if you ate them. So happy birthday to Kim. Most of us take the day off of a board meeting when it's our birthdays. I don't think any of us have come to a board meeting on our birthday.
No, I did.
Okay, Tony did. Okay. Well, I didn't know it was your birthday. A birdie told me it was her birthday. I'll have cupcakes for you next time, Ray. So happy birthday. Is there any discussion of the agenda? Changes to the agenda. I'm going to add an executive session now, briefly. So that'll be changed, Serena. So may I have a motion to enter into executive session? Do I have to? No, I don't have to exit open session. Just enter in to executive session at 6:36.
I motion.
Thank you, Francis. A second? Thank you, Sarah. Comments or questions? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, we will be stepping into the wood shop because that's what's open, and I hope to be very few minutes. Okay. All right. It's Ron. All right. Okay. All right. Next up, we have our public comment. Is there anyone that signed up for public comment? Anyone that's here that wanted to make a comment before we move on? Okay. Next up is approval of Board of Education minutes. Let's see. Oh no, this is board discussion. I'm sorry. Forgive me. That's discussion. Any discussion with regard to the minutes from the July 1st meeting? Okay. So then I don't have to accept those minutes? There's no resolution for the reorganization meeting, only for the regular meeting. Don't we need it for both? Okay. So can I do them as one motion? And I will add it in and then you amend that? Serena, thank you. Okay. So, resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education approve the minutes of the annual reorganization meeting and the regular meeting, both occurring on July 1st, 2025. May I have a motion? Thank you, Francis. A second? Thank you, Tony. Comments or questions? All in favor? Aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. Next we have Dr. Lisa P. here to give us a presentation. Welcome, Dr. Lisa. And I'm going to let Kim give us a little bit more of an intro about that.
Okay, I'm going to multitask because that's what we're supposed to be able to do. All right, so Dr. Lisa Paterni is, I got to confirm, two-step authentication. We want to be safe. I've known Dr. Lisa Paterni for several years now. She's a retired high school principal. Upon retirement, Lisa and her partner, her business partner, started this program called I'm Human 360. And Lisa has traveled around, thank you, look at you go. Lisa has traveled around the country working with different industries and organizations. That's it, yeah. Working with different organizations to build trust and transparency and communication. I've actually experienced Lisa in a room full of 200 police officers with guns on their hip, and they're all tough. And Lisa comes in, and within 15 minutes, they're putty in her hands. She's been wildly successful. He's just breaking stuff. She's been very successful working in various industries, from social services in Schenectady County to downstate to school resource officers and education, in elevating organizations and working on internal culture, both within departments, buildings, as well as leadership coaching. And so I had Lisa meet with myself and the administrative team after having discussions about what are we going to focus on moving forward. And a big believer that when we support our teachers and they have wellness, that our kids remain at the center of all our decisions and all the things that we do. And teachers are stressed. It is the job has changed tremendously in the last 25 years. And Lisa recognizes that by being an administrator and an educator for over 30 years. So I had Lisa to come up to present to the board just kind of the overview. What is I'm Human 360? You're going to see in your executive content is the entire very specific description of what it would look like, soup to nuts, over a 2-year period. We've had candid conversations with Lisa about areas we'd like her to focus on. And I invited her back to meet with the board so that she can kind of give you an overview. Again, there's a more comprehensive document in your board docs, and an opportunity for you to hear what I'm Human's about, Lisa's work, and get a taste of her magic. I swear she has fairy dust. And then from there, we can talk as an administrative and a leadership team within the board what areas we'd like for her to come back and work with. So I'd like to welcome Dr. Lisa Paterni.
So Ms. Ross said I'm a retired high school principal. I usually say, hi, my name is Lisa. I'm a recovering high school principal. So understanding what happens in a school and how things have changed. And I have worked with over 3,000 first responders, and I feel like that's what my calling is to work with those who protect, serve, and care for others. So whether it's social services or teachers or police officers or firefighters, we're all on the front lines doing this real hard work. Board of Education members, administrators, it's really hard work that we do every day on the front lines to serve our community. So um, I, I always start off every meeting. It might be a little interactive, so if you guys could just bear with me. I always start every meeting, no matter if I'm doing a training or any sort of meeting, with what we like to call is an attitude of gratitude. So if you could just think of 3 things that you're grateful for, like 3 things just right in the moment that you're grateful for. So for instance, I would say I am very grateful for my family. My family is very supportive of this work that I do. I am very grateful for my health, and I'm grateful that I have the opportunity to protect, serve, and care for those who protect, serve, and care. So what I like you to do is, if you can think about your 3 things that you're grateful for, and then we're going to just get up and move around for a minute because we have some new folks. Congratulations to the new teachers up here. If you could just mingle around and find 3 different people and share one thing that you're grateful for with that person. So for instance, I might come to Christy and say, Christy, I'm grateful for my family. Christy would say something back to me. Lisa, I'm grateful for, and then we'd move on to the next person. Okay, so are my directions clear? Okay, so go ahead, take a couple minutes to do that. Find 3 different people and share one thing that you're grateful for. Yes. And we just love going camping. And when, hi, Alyssa, what's my daughter's name? Not very familiar, so I don't know if they've ever seen me. Maybe. Yeah. I used to work in hospitals. Oh, okay, my daughter's a nurse. Yeah. Well, nice to meet you, Alyssa. Thank you. Okay, go ahead and find your 3rd person, and then you can head back to your seats. So thank you for doing that. What did you notice about that when you did the attitude of gratitude? What did you notice? Alyssa, did you notice anything?
I noticed that I felt connected to people's gratitude.
Mm,
It made sense to me.
made sense to you? Okay, thank you. Anyone else? What else did you notice?
But it's sometimes a little uncomfortable to just approach someone and tell them what you're grateful for, even if you know them.
Yeah, but you stepped outside of your comfort zone and you did it, right? Okay, one more. What else? Yes, it made you smile. And did anyone notice the energy level in the room? What happened? Yeah, it increased. It absolutely did. So there's a lot of research behind this that increases positive emotions. It strengthens relationships and social connection. That's a huge one. And it definitely helps you cope with adversity a little bit better. And it increases your overall happiness, thus you're smiling, right? And that's from Harvard Health Publishing. So I always start everything with an attitude of gratitude. So thank you for doing that with me. And just kind of going over your core values and how it ties into I'm Human 360, the integrity, the pride in the community. Um, always doing what's right, even when it's hard, and taking ownership of our work, our district, and community. That's what I'm Human 360 is all about. It's really about unity in the community because we are stronger together. So some of the challenges, but before we do that, I'd like just by a show of hands, how many protect, serve, and care for the community? By a show of hands. How many protect, serve, and care for the community? Thank you. And how many get a thanks for that on a regular basis? Show of hands. How many aren't going to raise your hands no matter what I ask? So again, before we move on, just turn to the person next to you and say thank you for the job that you do. Thank you for the work that you do. And so we know this work is hard. As I said, I was a principal, I was a teacher, I've been in education for 30 years. I feel like I'm just educating different people now. And there's challenges, right? We see a lot of communication breakdown between departments, between buildings. Leadership transitions create uncertainty for people. Relationships are strained. Some people work in silos, right? And change is hard for people. Recruitment and retention. My partner and I, we like to say that the crisis in the workforce is the new pandemic. And if you look at these statistics here, the teacher shortage across the United States and around the world, nearly 60,000 US educators quit their jobs in January of 2024. So it's real, and it's not just in education. We're seeing this across all fields where they protect, serve, and care for the community. So it's again part of the challenge. And then when we think about burnout, Kim mentioned burnout, right? But that accelerates turnover and it impacts students. And what are we here for? We're here for our students. And if you can see some of these statistics that those who say that that they experience burnout at work are 63% more likely to take a sick day, 23% more likely to visit the emergency room. And this is the key piece, though. When leaders strive to build teacher engagement and well-being, it does create an improved student experience. And again, we're here for students. And again, I'm not going to go through all of these statistics, but just highlighting that 31% of our teachers are engaged. Only 31% are actively enthusiastic and committed to their work. And this low engagement directly impacts student outcomes, the culture, and the retention. So teachers who are engaged are 62% less likely to leave their district compared to those not engaged. And when we have consistent engaged educators, that's what's essential for student success and district stability. And I believe the study was done by Hattie. He talked about teacher efficacy is the #1 predictor of student achievement. So at IH 360, here's some of our solutions. This is some of the work that we've done. I've done an extensive amount of work in Schenectady County over the past 2 years. It started off small, just coming in, doing a little work, and now they're bringing me into many departments. But my main work has been with the Office of Children and Family Services, and talk about true frontline workers, right? I mean, what they see every day and, how they're helping children, working with schools. So we work to directly address low engagement by reconnecting staff to their purpose, to pride, to community. We work on building emotional resilience, which that reduces burnout. It improves daily energy. And by strengthening relationships, trust, and communication, that's how we transform culture. That's how we change from just surviving to thriving. And we've seen so much change in Schenectady County. Like when I first went in there, like people didn't even say good morning to each other. Like they would walk down the hallway and just walk past each other. And this work has been incredibly transformational. And I will tell you that I studied with Jack Canfield. I'm not sure if you all are familiar with him, but he wrote the Chicken Soup for the Soul books, and he wrote the Success Principles. So he studied the most successful people in the world. He studied under W. Clement Stone, who was the creator of Success Magazine. And so I have spent 8 years training with him. He's been my mentor. I've been on his assisting team. So I've taken everything that I've learned, everything that I've taken from my leadership training and from the thousands of books that I read, and put this all together. And bringing this personal development to places and spaces that it's never been has really been transformational. So, so again, going back to the culture, you can see from a Gallup poll in 2022 that districts that have a strong culture and strong leadership can see up to 70% higher retention rates. So investing in staff well-being really supports student success, workforce stability, and community pride. Again, we work on building trust. Communication, do you think that's an issue in places? Yes or no? Yes. Yes, communication is really one of the biggest things that, when I do a listening tour, when I talk to people, when I really hear what people have to say, it really is the foundation, communication. And when communication's not there, what does that affect? It affects everyone, and it affects trust, right? When you don't communicate, it definitely affects trust. So we use the listening tour to hear every voice. As I said, I've been in education for over 30 years. I've experienced so many canned programs, right? They come in, this is what they're going to do, and it's the same for everyone. That's not what we do. We listen, we ask, we hear, we see people, and what you tell us or your people tell us you need is we build our program around that. We offer interactive workshops. So again, it's not me up here standing. You heard me, you saw me do a little interaction with you, but most of my workshops are fully interactive. I shouldn't say most, all of them are. It equips leaders and teachers with resilience tools, and it integrates all staff. So it's not just teachers, it's not just administrators. It's really important to focus on everyone who supports students in the learning process. So that's right down to transportation, food services, custodial. So talking with Kim, as she said, I met with some of your leadership team about a month ago, and we kind of talked about a potential starting point with I'm Human 360, and that would be doing the opening day staff development, where it would be like a whole staff kickoff. It's motivational, inspirational, you get people excited, it's interactive, you're getting people to talk to each other that may not talk to each other on a regular basis, and building-based workshops, so having targeted sessions at I did say high school, forgetting that your middle school, high school is connected, so your middle school, high school, and your elementary school, as well as doing a session with your support staff and your support teams. And then we also talked about doing a district office retreat, which is about uniting leadership, increasing transparency, reimagining relationships, and really creating a consistent communication plan across the district. And then we have a menu of services that we offer. This is like the whole shebang, or you can have just small pieces of it. It's whatever you feel is important to your district, whatever you need in your district, and you'll have all of that in your packet. We start off with a listening tour. We meet with small groups to gather insight and build belonging. That really was a critical piece, I believe, in my work at Schenectady County, was that listening tour. In every department that they brought me into, I've done a listening tour before I did anything else. And having those building-based workshops, so doing targeted sessions for both the schools. Professional learning communities, where I do leadership development with the administrators. I do it with anyone who leads a leads a department, because sometimes we're given leadership titles and we never have had leadership training. So that really has been a key component to this work, is doing leadership development training in small groups. And it really is uniting people, and it's creating like these little groups where they come to, they build trust. We talk a lot about confidentiality, and they really hold it. So they're holding space for each other too, which is important in these leadership roles. And, working, doing faculty meetings, like alternating between the faculty meetings, kind of doing mini sessions just to keep the momentum going. And then we have, super and conference day workshops, support staff empowerment sessions, again, for the bus drivers, the custodians, the food services. We also have an I'm Human 360 ambassador program, which we would invite people to nominate folks that you thought were leaders throughout the district. It includes students, it includes your teachers, your support staff that could be trained in the I'm Human program, so that long after I'm Human is out of your district, you would still have people in there with the same messages. And we create a community too, where we would meet with them. All our I'm Human ambassadors we would meet with on a monthly basis, whether it's a webinar or in person, so that they can have things that they come back and they do in your district or your departments. And then, individual leadership coaching, I've done a lot of that. And a senior student leadership workshop. One of the best things that I feel like I did before I left the principal was give these tools to my seniors. And it was very, very well received. And it was almost magical, I would say, for them. So just a few things. I have a lot of testimonials, but I just put a few up here for you to take a look at. This is what some of the folks that have experienced this have said. I absolutely love this opening address. Dr. Paterni really brought light to the room, and you could see it on everyone's face. That was from a workshop I did for the State Department of Social Services in January. Dr. Paterni's compassionate, approachable, and funny. You can tell she enjoys learning and sharing what she learns to make the world, your life, and your outlook better, period. It's her gift, and I thank her for sharing it with us. I learned strategies to stay positive even when we're overwhelmed and dealing with horrific tragedies. Show gratitude and appreciation for the coworkers who are on the front lines. I feel like this will also be useful in my personal life. And then finally, initially I was somewhat skeptical, but Lisa's genuineness and sincerity showed through. Her instruction and leadership skills kept things on track and kept things moving smoothly. The parts on communication and confidence building are very helpful. I felt that the team building aspect was helpful, and I got to know many of my coworkers on a much deeper and better level I would recommend to other professionals. So those are just some of the folks that have taken my training. So in closing, does anyone know what one of the oldest living organisms on the planet is? Sickle cells? Single cells? That's one of them. Cockroach is one of them. Ask the DSS workers. They live in California. Yes, the California redwood trees. They are, they've been on Earth for over 100 million years, and they're the tallest trees. They grow to be 350 feet high. They live up to 2,000 years, but they have a very shallow root system. The root system is only 8 feet underground, and they release 500 gallons of water each day to support the other species in the forest. So they give back to the forest. And that's why I love the California redwood trees. And even though their root system is shallow, you think about how do they withstand all of the things that happen out there in California, right? The earthquakes, the fires, and the winds, and all the things that we hear about. Well, what they do is they intertwine with the roots of other trees. And that's how they stand up. So those connections are so important, and intertwining our roots help us stand tall, because together we are better. And I was just telling Christy about my experience at Sage College for the doctoral program, and I think one of the reasons why people are so successful there versus other programs is because you're in a cohort. you work together, you work as a group, and you intertwine your root systems so that you can stand tall through all the storms. So I always use this as an analogy to be like the redwoods. So I put your core values up there of integrity, pride, and community, because I really think that's important to intertwining those roots and helping your community really come together so that you can stand tall even during difficult times. And then any questions that you might have for me? Cool. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Questions? Great. Well, thank you so much.
Well,
Lisa. We
thank you for
appreciate
having me. It was a
out.
pleasure to be here, and thank you all for the work that you do.
Yeah, thank you.
Mentioned it briefly earlier that, we kind of a leadership team did some targeted areas to focus on. And then I said, having a discussion with the board, what they feel some areas. I know in the last year you've given me bits and pieces. And so probably by the end of the week, I'd like to say to Lisa, and again, I can start an email conversation of like, what areas or what, departments or things like that you think she should focus on. And then from there, I can let Lisa know, and then she can carve out a more official proposal. I just wanted to make sure you were introduced to her. I know the leadership team was, and they were even, Mrs. Marvin and Christy, and Dan, they were so excited. Like, Lisa spent about an hour with them, and they're like, we cannot wait for her to come in and work with groups, both, groups and individuals. So, Lisa, thank you for taking the time and being here. I appreciate
Thank you. Happy birthday, Kim.
Thank you.
Okay. Our superintendent's report, which I think is going to include Mr. Goodwin.
I'm going to give up a little bit of my time for CJ, and then I just have a couple things. That's it. Oh.
Good evening, everybody. I believe you guys have all received a copy of our monthly status report and also the financial summary. Sorry, Kim, I can't hear you.
It's going down.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I'm just bringing up my piece of that. So I know there were some questions on the financial piece. So what I did was I amended what I had sent in my initial monthly report to just include some of the pieces about our allowances. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about that allowance process, what it is, why we use it, kind of what it's for. And then I'm happy to answer any questions and then maybe go through a status of where we are currently in both of the buildings. And then again, answer any questions you guys may have. So if you look at the document that's in front of you, originally it was just an overall summary of what our total referendum vote costs were, and then our status basically financially of each of the stages of work we have completed or are in process of completing. So the top 4 items are that original referendum value, and then that phase 1 construction cost commitment is the playground, the elementary school roof, and then part of the high school roof that we did last fall, which was the gymnasium and the library section over what was the mock when I was here. And then below that is what you see as phase 2 construction commitment. That's the current project that we're under construction on at the bus garage, elementary school, and the high school. Below that is all of the project allowances that we have put in each contractor's contract. So what we typically do in any project that we manage anyway, and is pretty typical for most people that manage construction projects, is we put an allowance in each prime contractor's contract. So that dollar figure that you see in there that totals up to the $1-ish million range, that's part of that 18 million that you see above it. It's not in addition to, it's part of. And we do that for a number of reasons. One, every building that we typically work in is not from 2020. It's from 1930, 1960. It's got mixed vintages, mixed finishes, a little bit of everything. We do that because there are a number of places we just can't go to, or quite honestly, it's not cost effective to do what we would call sort of pre-demolition or destructive testing, where we would go into a space and go, maybe we don't know what's behind those panels there. We'll take some of those panels down, knowing we're going to renovate this entire space to see if there's something back there that we would have to account for in our budget. A lot of times we don't do that, mostly because we'll remove that panel. And then when we do that one, we'll find that there's 5,000 things in there that we didn't know about. So then you kind of land in that realm of, well, we spent this money to do testing that was kind of irrelevant at that point. And unfortunately, unless you check every single one, sometimes that's what happens. So we come up with this process of allowances, and each project is a little bit different. So depending on the age of your building, the project, the type of work we're doing, whether it involves all the trades or maybe just a few trades, depending on the space, we typically land in a 3-ish to 5-ish% of what we think the project value is for allowances. Sometimes that's more, sometimes that's less. So specifically for this project, we had the expectation that there weren't some areas that were going to need to be abated, that testing wasn't showing any results of what we could see. Me, assumed that a building in 1924 probably still has a number of things that we haven't found yet, put in an extra allowance of $200,000 for abatement items. That was because we knew we would find things in walls somewhere. Most times, groups would then go, if you assumed you were going to find it, why not just cover it and assume whatever it is it's going to be? And that's a really good question if you're a person that would have that. And usually my response is similar to what I just did with destructive testing. Inevitably, we'll say there's 10 things behind that wall, we'll find one. Whenever we get a credit for those other 9, they're never anywhere near what a change order would have been to do those 9. So you're constantly in this balance of what's best for the situation that we're in and controlling costs as best we can. So that's typically the process we run through when we create these kinds of budgets. They're there to use when we need for things that we find, things that we want. It depends on kind of the situation. We can use them for almost anything. The nice thing about allowances is that they are included in the contractor's budget. So they're in their contract, which means, unlike a change order, you don't have to pay the contractor overhead and profit. It's already built into that allowance because it's part of their contract. So when you see, as things come through when we process allowances, it'll probably see overhead and profit removed from any of the primes. If you're a contractor that hires somebody to do something, that subcontractor would get to keep their overhead and profit because they would have no knowledge of additional things that you would want done at that time. So it's a little bit of a coverage for everybody, but a way to control what we think we will find. I won't say we won't use all of this. I won't say that we will. It's really hard to say. The other part I'll say, abatement-wise, we've found at this point what I feel like is almost everything in these buildings, but we aren't done. In the areas we've worked in, we've found a number of things we either didn't expect to find or didn't find testing for, or things like that. And we are still, even as of 2 weeks ago, we found a handful of other things that we know have to come out. that $200,000 will probably be pretty close to spent, which is okay, not great, but we are also probably through 80 to 85 or 90% of all of the spaces that we need to do abatement in. So that allowance is serving its purpose. That doesn't mean that if we find more things, we can't use the general allowance or things like that. But there are things that we are going to find that we would like to cover. So in terms of allowances, I feel like I went on for a little bit there. Does anybody have any questions? Go for it. Yes. Yeah, so in terms of the total of the 1.1 million, right now, because we're still in the process of creating all the paperwork, and I'm still waiting on a number of areas to be finalized for their pricing, we're probably between all the trades, not even just abatement, we're probably somewhere, I would say, around 200 to 230. And it's for things like we found things above ceilings, like we found a ceiling above a ceiling. In the elementary school, we found 2 of them that they had sent ductwork through. So at some point, somebody knew those ceilings existed, but we didn't know until the ceilings came down. We don't want to leave those things. So you guys know, I'm a proponent of take things out if they're not needed. So if we're finding things that are empty piping, empty conduits that aren't needed, and it makes sense to take them out, I'm going to be all for getting things out of the way so people don't find them 5 years from now. My rationale for that, so everybody knows, we can argue about it if you want, is 5 years from now, it will definitely not be cheaper to take it out then. So that's usually why I sort of have that mentality. That is obviously negotiable. If we have $5,000 left in allowance, I'm not looking to take out random things that aren't important either. But as the budget kind of progresses, if we have money that we can deal with problems and take the headaches away for future projects, I'm interested in that. The other piece I wanted to add is when you look at the allowances and you follow that document down, you'll see below that total, there's an incidental budget of 4.1 million, and then there's a line that's called construction contingency. So when we build the financial picture of all projects from our office, there is construction costs, there's soft costs, and then we separate out a little piece that's somewhere, sometimes again, 2 to 5-ish% of the just in case. So a good example is, let's say we find something or need something that is outside of what we can do with our allowance. That handles that. That's a little kitty of money that in case we need it, we can do. The plan is not for that to stay there until December of 2026 and then go, hey, here's $650,000. That's there for things that we may need. So the intent would be to kind of spend that down as you go if we find things that we need. If we are getting to summer of 26, getting to maybe this point in time where we should have cleared abatement problems, and we still haven't used some of that money, that's then the conversation of what can we do? Do we not spend that money? Do we do more of X, Y, and Z that we held back on because we had financial concerns or things like that? So there's a couple of different avenues in this that we do, because the biggest thing is, and like most of you know, we can't spend $1 more than what the voters approved. So we're not in the situation like if you were building your house and hey, I wanted to do 10% more, and you go to the bank and ask them for more money, they can likely, if you're able to support it, they'll happily extend your line of credit to do whatever. School construction doesn't work like that. It has to go back through the voters. So we always try to overshoot our savings so that we aren't looking to find more money later.
So how much of the building is open right now?
In terms of percentage?
Like roughly,
Ooh,
like.
that's a good question,
So,
Francis.
I'm more thinking, in 5 years, in 10 years.
Okay.
What sort of abatement are we looking at then?
Okay, so that's a really good question. Okay, so elementary school-wise, I would say the places where you're still going to find abatement is what I would say is the 4th grade wing. First left as you go in, heading down towards the most recent addition. I'd say you're still going to find some things there because I don't know that was ever fully renovated like we're doing the 3rd grade wing now. I think there's a little bit still in that main hallway. We did leave one elbow above the faculty and staff toilets because out of time, I didn't want to have them go abate, keep that area shut down. I needed framing and things to happen. We still have to do the kitchen. So there's a little bit of stuff there. I fully expect to find stuff there too as we do that process. And then I would say the kindergarten wing, I don't know how much was done there. Thankfully, it's only those 2 rooms. There's not a ton of plumbing there. There is some, but so I mean, I would say you're definitely better than 50 to 60% of that building has probably been dealt with. I say that though with my elementary knowledge, and I mean that as an elementary student being through that building. And this is really my first full summer with being able to go into spaces that I probably never would have been in as a student. And then the last thing I'll say is I'm pretty sure there's still pipe trenches down by, I think when we went to school, the art room in the library. I'm sure there's a number of things down there that still have to be dealt with. The good thing, there's no good thing with abatement, but sort of the good thing is everybody knows about it. It's not something anybody ignores. Anand does a really good job of paying attention to those things, documenting them, tracking them, doing all those things. He's licensed to deal with those things, which I think helps you guys a lot. But where I'm going with that is that if it's left alone, it's for the most part okay. I won't say it's safe because nobody's going to believe that. But unless it's airborne or in process of something, for the most part, it's something that will pretty much be irrelevant to you until it's actually in process of being removed. Okay. Yes, ma'am? Not very much. So the other thing I was going to mention, and I know this is not the time because I know it's on a different agenda item, but there's approving the bids for the high school roof work as part of the agenda today. That will be, by the time we do that, I would say you're probably about 50-ish, 60-ish% of the entire building's roof. Because what we'll approve here will really be down the 2000 wing, back up around and over to where the canopy is. There's still a couple of sections over here and over by the full 3-story area that won't be done, but that'll really be it at that point. The contractors that are working right now have some sections over there to do as part of their contract, but it wasn't everything. We did get alternate prices for those. You'll see them in the kind of the bid form there, but the total of everything with those would have been 1.2 million. We just aren't not in a safe spot quite yet to say that that's okay. The nice thing, if we get to, again, maybe April, we can relook at this again. We haven't spent any contingency. We've gotten through what would be the bulk of what we're renovating now. We're through most of the cafeteria here. We're really only left with probably the 3rd floor here and the elementary school cafeteria. We could look at, maybe we could rebid some of that stuff to do more roofing if that's what you guys were interested in, or waiting to see what happens at that point. We can kind of make those decisions as we go. And that's kind of the nice thing about sort of waiting, and we have pricing to sort of show what it'll be. So he was waiting to go back to the elementary school, and at that time, we were able to continue co-op contracts, which is what we were doing with A.W. Farrell. With all the judgment and stuff that happened with Broome, that kind of went by the wayside, because the original intent was to do a co-op for the rest of this roof so that we could have done it sooner than later at that point. Any other questions? All right. Yes, ma'am.
Nope, thank you, CJ. Was just going to say thank you.
Okay. Thanks, CJ. Do you guys have questions on the roof bit with the agenda? You can stay. I don't think so. We just love talking about roofs. All right. Thanks, CJ. I'm sure I'll talk to you tomorrow. All right, so the only couple things. You're going to see that we have the second read of the cell phone policy. Obviously, this is a living policy. Communication is going out to our families tomorrow. It is a trial and error and pivot. I think every school district across the state is having that mindset. Anand is confirming that we have enough lockers because there's no lockers in that 100 wing right now. For students, yes. For students to put their cell phones in, some are broken, so he's working on that because if we don't have enough lockers, then we'll have to pivot our cell phone policy. So trying to have an upbeat mindset about it that we're in the same boat as everybody else. Jeff and I in the business office have been busy. This summer is all about grant writing and state reporting. So I feel like I am chained to my desk. So does Jeff with doing all these grants because they're due. And then last but not least, I just want to some folks who decided to stay with us. We have 3 of our folks who are on the agenda for tonight. So Robert, if you could wave. There's Robert. Robert is joining us. He has been teaching in New York City area, living in Long Island. His parents are both teachers who are going to retire next year, and they bought some land in upstate New York. He loves it up here. He went to college in Hamilton, so he got a little taste of it. So we're very excited for Robert to be joining us as our 6th grade ELA teacher. And he's slowly moving his things up and ready to go. And then our next 2 folks who are with us tonight are DCS alum. So we have Sean Rickert. Say hi, Sean. Sean is coming to us. Obviously, he graduated a few years back. He is going to be teaching secondary social studies, mainly in like 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. He's also, I think, on the agenda to be our varsity wrestling coach. Sean he will be finished with his certification in January. So New York State and SUNY Albany, I got an email, I think yesterday, officially saying he has his internship certification. So he's allowed to finish and teach at the same time. So that's why on the agenda, but when he is all done in January, we can put him on his official tenure track of social studies. So we're very excited for Sean to be here. He did his student teaching here. The students loved him. Loved him. He did student teaching, and then he filled in at the end of the year when we had the vacancy in social studies. The kids reported that they learned more in 3 weeks than they did in 3 months. So we're lucky to have Sean here. And then last but not least, we have an older alum of DCS, but not old. We have Sarah Nags. Wave your hand, Sarah. Sarah, what's your maiden name? Welsh. Okay. Do you have nephews or nieces and nephews still in the area? Second cousins. That's what we talked about. Sarah was here from kindergarten until 10th grade, and her parents moved her, but I think she served enough time to say that she's an alum of the district. Sarah went through the process and the interview team, Christy and the interview team. Sarah was one of the top candidates that in interviewing and doing a demo lesson. We're very excited because Sarah has experience within the general ed setting and the special education setting, and she will be filling the integrated classroom with a co-teacher, and being a seasoned veteran teacher, we expect some great things coming out of the room. So just want to do a quick introduction, and that's all I got.
Okay, next item is policy, second read and approval. So be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education approves the following policy for second read and approval. This is policy number 7316 for personal electronic devices. May I have a motion? Oh, Mike did. Michael, thank you. A second? Thank you, Francis. Comments or questions on the policy?
So this second read, as Tim said, this is a living document. We're going to be talking, probably amending it several times throughout the year, I would guess, if we learn more. Hopefully not. We'll see. Alyssa and I met with Christy and Judy and Danielle a couple weeks ago and sort of worked through their recommendations on sort of storage and explaining what needs the law, what we have to have in our policies, and
was a big undertaking. So thank you to you and Alyssa and to our administrative team for going through and trying to figure out how we can make this work in our space with our students in our district. So. Mhm.
That's really my hope of the letter going home and sort of us hopefully getting it out early and parents know about it. Honestly, in my mind, I have my opinions on all of this probably, but it's really on the parents to sort of set up how the children. I don't know if I'm on or not tonight. It's really on the parents to sort of establish the behaviors that are correct and sort of how they should bring those devices to school if they should.
I just
So-
mean too, when they get the letter,
Yeah.
the first thing is, my kid needs a phone. Why? I don't know.
There is very specific, for as ironclad as the law is, it allows exceptions.
Yeah, I know.
And we have got them as well dialed down as possible so that
So
we
Francis,
demonstrate.
if I may interrupt, so we anticipate, several parents are going to say, well, my child needs a phone, my child needs a phone. Like Francis said, the law is very clear, like if it's for medical reasons, for like diabetic monitoring. But when it comes to special education needs, like let's take E&L out because a lot of times kids use that for translation. I had asked Danielle to create a protocol similar to a protocol you would have if you want your child to have a one-to-one aid, or you think your child needs to have speech or stop speech or get more OT or less OT. There are protocols, enter and exit protocols, to see if a child qualifies. And the state, when we talk about the special ed world, I said, I think the easiest solution is to create that protocol. And so when teachers come back and she has her team assembled, they'll work through developing that entry and exit. Like, do they qualify for a cell phone? This is going to, it's going to be a heavy lift, and for lack of words, a nightmare probably at times. And it is going to be an all group effort. But again, I'm trying to have a positive mindset of like, we're ready. We'll ride the waves. We'll pivot when we have to pivot. If we fail, then we find another way. But we're at least doing what's required of us.
So is this also going to be on the website, the DCS website as
It
well?
will be tomorrow, so I want the board to approve it. We have something for the website, and then I have a more warm, friendly parent square going out tomorrow. That
Yep.
just kind of, it's not as cold as like the cell phone policy.
Yeah, we also kind of, I think, have to look at loopholes like in 504 plans and languages because parents are pretty crafty that way.
We
Right.
really
So-
cannot, we need to be careful with calling those loopholes. They are called out explicitly in the law
Mhm.
as things that are okay.
If it's
So
explicit, sure, but the language,
Exemption- they're exe-
like
they're exempted
earlier, the
from
comma
it, yeah.
situation,
they-
being in the wrong
they-
spot,
again,
and then,
it's based on, and what Kim is saying, there will be entry and exit plans on sort of kids need additional devices in the school
Right.
can provide. But it is very clear in the law that 504s and IEPs come first.
right. Also, I'm aware of the fact that there's translators that are exterior cell phones that some districts use. If it becomes a hassle, we might want to look into that as well, whereas the student signs it out and gives it back or takes it home. But because of the fact that now we have a student saying, oh, I need this as translating, and they have an ESL on docket, it could be abused easily. So we
Right.
might want to look into something like that.
I know that in my experience, and even I had put it in my news notes, that we had 3 new E&L students come into district. And in my previous experience, 2 of my experiences had a very robust E&L population. And Google Translate on a student's phone is the easiest solution. We try to find, or even on a Chromebook.
That was actually going to be my statement, is every student has a Chromebook,
Mhm.
and the school has had no problems in the past coming up with materials if children need it.
That isn't part of the language as well, correct?
Yes.
Yes, yep. If they need it for translation services.
Yes, that's explicitly called out.
Yep.
Um,
Any other questions or comments?
It's a small one. I can't
tell you exactly where. It's like in the middle of the document. I just found a typo. So if this is going out tomorrow,
You want us to fix the typo? When you f-
probably, yeah. It's just goals of is goals of. It's one word. It's
Oh,
like in the middle of it.
Do you see where that is? Because Serena is my
It starts with administrators will also discuss the goals of.
Oh, yeah, that's part of the law.
Thanks, Francis.
I look forward to that.
All right, we'll find it, and if I can't find it, I'll reach out to you tomorrow, Sarah.
Yep,
Okay.
it is.
I don't have it open.
I see it. It's in the enforcement area.
Enforcement, okay.
Yeah. Yep.
That's easy.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good eye.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, then we are voting to approve this policy. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, next we will move to financial items, and I'm going to do a consent agenda for those. So I need a motion, looking for, well, let me see. Resolved based upon the recommendation of the superintendent that the Board of Education approve financial items, numbers 7.01 through 7.12. May I have a motion? Thank you, Tony. A second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Francis. Comments or questions on any of these items? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. Next, we have our capital project, 2 recommended actions. I'm going to do those together as well. Be it resolved, based upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education approves 2 capital item projects, approval of day automation and award bid for capital project roof contract to A.W. Farrell and Son. May I have a motion?
I'll motion.
Thank you, Lisa. A second? Thank you, Michael. Comments or questions on either of these items? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. Next, we have instructional personnel to accept resignations. Be it resolved, based upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education accepts the following instructional personnel resignations. I will list them: Kevin DeTondo, Richard Duff, Teresa Dyer, Courtney Rafferty, Taylor Schroeder, and Christine Ziegler. May I have a motion? Thank you, Sarah. A second? Thank you, Tony. Comments or questions?
So we wish them the best wherever they're going off to.
Indeed. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, next item. Be it resolved, based upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education approve Carol Hart for the certified tenure area of ENL at a point 6, effective September 1st, 2025, step 17, per DTA contract. May I have a motion?
Is that number correct? Remember, Tony had said the math might not be correct. I'm sorry. Oh, I
Do you want me to make the motion?
Yeah, I would. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, can I have a motion?
A motion.
Thank you, Francis. A second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Lissa. Yes,
I'm
comments.
sorry. So what we'll do is, Tony had mentioned, I don't think the math's right either, but we'll Jeff, will you double check? And if we have to on our 26th meeting, we can adjust it. We can amend it. Okay.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, no worries. Any other comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, next item. Be it resolved, based upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education approve Shannon Chicknicki. I think I got it right. Certified tenure area of 2nd grade teacher at it's just a 1, right? A 4-year probationary, effective 9/1/2025, step 7. May I have a motion?
I'll motion.
Thank you, Lissa. A second? Thank you, Ray. Comments or questions? All in. Oh, did you have a comment?
No, it's just
Oh,
exciting to
yeah.
have a community member come in.
Yes. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, next item, be it resolved based upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education approve Sarah Nags, certified tenure area third grade teacher for 4-year probationary period, effective 9/1/2025, bachelor step 17. May I have a motion?
I'll motion.
Thank you, Francis. A second? Thank you, Michael. Comments or questions?
So I think I figured out the oopsies. Because you haven't ratified the DTA MOA with the new salary schedule, that's, I
Oh.
think, why these numbers are off.
Oh, I see.
So I just said to Jeff, I think, yeah, so I think these numbers are off.
Okay.
All right.
So we'll adjust them in
At the
another, in the 26th
26th
meeting? Right.
Right,
Okay. 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 Any other questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Right, next item, be it resolved based upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education approve Robert Bento Jr., certified tenure area 6th grade ELA for a full-time 4-year probationary period beginning 9/1/2025 at step 5. May I have a motion?
I'll motion.
Thank you, Francis. A second? Thank you, Michael. Comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Next item, be it resolved based upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education approve Julia Gauthier, certified tenure area 4th grade teacher, 4-year probationary term beginning 9/1/2025, bachelor step 3. May I have a motion?
I'll motion.
Thank you, Lissa. A second? Thank you, Sarah. Comments or questions?
Not related to Mike, right?
No. Okay.
Excellent.
Yeah. She's actually from the region, moving back. She's been living in Boston, and her family's back here, so she was looking for a job locally. So she's, I think her move date's the 23rd. So.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Next item, be it resolved based upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education approve Alec Volans, certified tenure area of 2nd grade teacher for a long-term substitute position beginning 9/1/2025 at bachelor step 1. May I have a motion? Thank you, Tony. A second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Francis. Comments or questions?
I had old brain, right? I'm allowed to have an old brain. I realized that, and it's something that Jeff and I talked about, we have to, if Alec remains with us, we have to appoint him again next year.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can't a long-term sub is 1 year at a time.
Okay. Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Next item, be it resolved based upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education approve Sean Rickard, certified tenured area social studies for a long-term sub position, effective 9/1/2025, at a daily rate of $140 per day. May I have a motion?
I'll motion.
Oh.
Go ahead, Tom.
Thank you, Tony. A second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Francis. Comments or questions?
We heard that in January he'll be finishing up his certification, right?
Yes.
So that would mean that his tenure date would start September 1st in the future, right?
We can start him, we can, like, say he gets all the paperwork and it's January 15th.
Right.
We can start his probationary track mid-year.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. Be it resolved based upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education approve Haley Duffy as the library media specialist, again as a long-term sub, effective 9/1/2025 at a daily rate of $140 per day. May I have a motion?
I'll motion.
Thank you, Lissa. A second? Thank you, Tony. Comments or questions?
So what happens with Sean and Haley, the way New York State works, after 40 days, then we're required to put them on step 1. So there's a form I fill out, and I submit it to, because they're not certified yet. But after the 40th day, so maybe Sean decides to take 3 weeks off, in October. I wouldn't
Please
recommend
don't do
that.
that.
Don't do
I
that.
wouldn't recommend that. But it is after they've hit their 40th day, and the form gets sent